Listening to the Internet P1 Radio, New Bedford, Massachusetts, home of the legendary Tavares and just a collection of some cool-ass, wonderful people.
Welcome to Straight to the Point Sports, where we're here at WMB1 Radio, and I'm here with my regular guys, Steve Lopes and Derek Consaccio.
What's up, everybody?
All right now.
We're back, and we've got some. I think we got some great topics to talk about in sports. Of course, we always have our football to fall back on. We'll be looking at the week that was week 6 with a couple of upsets. Also, we'll be previewing week 7, and we will be also talking about the NBA, which is
Next
right
week.
around the corner. Opening day Tuesday.
Yeah.
Tuesday.
Yep.
Tuesday is opening day. So we'll also be talking about that. Feel free to chime in anytime you like. Phone lines are open. 774-425-2631. That is the call-in line. Also, feel free to download the app WNB1 Radio. Today we have two ways of seeing it. Right at the top over there, and right there on his shirt. Look at that. 2 ways, right?
He's
He's looking.
He's
Yeah.
still looking. He's like, where?
Yeah. So we got 2 ways to look at, in case you forget, just go to either your Apple Play Store or your Android Play Store. All right. And you can get us on the go wherever you go. All right. WMB1 Radio. All right. So we're going to kick things off. We're going to talk about the week in the NFL. That was week 6. All right. So as we know, we had going into the week, we had 2 undefeated teams. That is no longer the case, right?
I don't know.
So now the 1972 Dolphins
Yep.
Can
They're all
rest
celebrating
easy.
again.
can rest easy. They could pop their champagne, and there will not be another. There won't be an undefeated team this year, I should say. It's not surprising. It's pretty hard to go through an entire NFL season undefeated. You have to have all your ducks in a row.
Nobody gets
Yeah. So just look at it. The Patriots were the last ones to come close, and they fell at the end of the year in the Super Bowl last game. Yeah. So like I said, you need to have everything perfect. I mean, that when they say perfect season, you have to have everything happen.
Stay
perfect.
healthy.
Yeah.
I mean, a little bit of luck.
It's football.
a lot of luck.
A lot of luck with the way in which teams get hurt nowadays. The way in which players get hurt nowadays so frequently and so often, it's almost impossible to have your entire team. For instance, we'll look at the San Francisco 49ers. Look what happened to them.
Two
They had-
major cards
they had-
early.
3 guys, if you want to count their offensive linemen.
Yeah, I
Trent
didn't
Williams
even-
got hurt
yeah,
too.
I was only counting Debo and McCaffrey.
Yeah, McCaffrey and Trent Williams got hurt too. So that's 3 key players.
And what a time for Brock Purdy not to play well. That was his worst game
Yeah, well,
that I've seen him since the
Hey,
start.
but
First
not
loss.
for nothing. Even with those guys out, they still had a
Yeah,
chance to
yeah.
win.
All
No,
they had to do,
They kick
all they had to do,
goal,
yeah, exactly.
But I was like, all those factors together contributed to their loss.
all they had to do was simply make the field goal at the end. It could have been, as simple as just make the field goal and you're good. Unfortunately for them, they missed it. Which leads us to our opening question. All right, which 5-0 team loss shocked you more? Was it Philly losing to the Jets or San Fran losing to Cleveland?
San
To
Fran
Cleveland.
losing to Cleveland.
I would say Philly losing to the Jets.
All right, well, so we'll start with you first.
Yeah.
Give your reasoning.
Jets. I don't know. And now I think about it, I would say because Jets had a backup QB, but so did Cleveland.
Yeah, but Zach Wilson was a starter until Rodgers came along.
Yeah, that's true. But the Jets had both starting cornerbacks out. Neither starting cornerback played that game at all.
Yes, they were. As far as defensive wise, they were at a serious disadvantage because both starting cornerbacks. Typically, when you say both starting cornerbacks, especially with a wide receiving core with Devontae Smith, AJ Brown, and Dallas Goedert, you would think that it would be pretty easy for them to move the ball and do whatever they wanted to do. That wasn't the case. So I don't know. I don't know what went on there. Anything else you want to add to it?
That's
What did the Jets do well, in your opinion, Dak?
they controlled the game.
Time of possession.
Even without those corners, I thought their defense stepped up.
Oh, yeah, they did.
Which ironically is the same reason I think Cleveland did well in their game. Their defense is so underrated.
Cleveland's defense is top.
It is.
Best defense.
And I think they're finally going to get their just due this week.
And the crazy,
But Myles Garrett is the most non-talked about top 3 player in the league.
He's a problem. Myles Garrett is a problem.
And then Denzel Ward on the back end.
So are you in agreement that the Jets?
I was more surprised with Cleveland because there was no Deshaun Watson, and they beat a top tier team with somebody who's not used to being a starting quarterback.
Deshaun Watson,
And there's no Nick Chubb.
no Chubb.
And Amari Cooper was a no-show. So I'm sitting there going, how did they win? Their defense kept it close, and they took advantage of the opportunities that were presented, but they did not allow who did Cleveland beat? San Fran? All right, yeah. Yeah, they did not allow San Fran to get untracked or get comfortable. They kept pressure on them. They stopped the running game. I mean, yeah, San Fran had some injuries that contributed, but I think even with those guys present, Cleveland's defense came to play.
Yeah. No doubt in my mind. For me, anyway, I the reason why I would say I was more shocked with San Fran losing solely because of the fact of how dominant they were. All right, their first 5 games, they won 4 out of the 5 by double digits, and they were in blowout fashion. All right. Conversely, you cannot say the same for Philly. All right. So when we talk about Philly, their first 5 games, they only had 1 game which was decided by double digits. All the other ones 1-score games. All right. So if you look at it, like I said, as far as Philly, the Eagles have struggled and held on to all their first 5 games, with the exception of 1, a 25-11 win against Tampa Bay. The other 4 wins, 25-20 against the Pats, 34-28 against the Vikings, 23-14 against the Rams. That game was in question until turnover late in the game. And what was the other one? 34-31 win over the Commanders in overtime. They were actually losing and had to come back.
Yeah, they had to kick a field goal to go.
So I'm not surprised at the Eagles losing. I was more surprised at the 49ers, especially how they won. How they beat the Cowboys down the week before. It seemed like they were on a path to, just keep building. Boom, and then they got punched in the face.
Do you think they overlooked Cleveland?
They may have.
Especially with Deshaun out and Chubb out.
Yeah.
They probably figured that, but there was nobody out on their defense.
Yeah.
And then those key weapons San Fran lost on offense was
You hurt basically arguably the best back in the league.
Yeah.
I think that they may have gotten a case of, we were happy with beating the Cowboys down and we're not focused.
Yeah.
And you gotta. I mean, you had to have been paying attention to the defense in which Cleveland possessed. I mean, if you looked at they're like they're in the top. Let's put it. They're in the top 5 in just about every defensive category that there is. And I think that with all the hoopla and how they beat down Dallas, I think that they may have gotten ahead of themselves, and they may have just overlooked Cleveland. But for me, it was more. I felt that San Fran. That surprised me more.
I can agree with that, but you know the trend I was paying attention to. You just mentioned San Fran was blowing everybody out, right? Philly was barely winning. What do you attribute that reason to? Because I got my thoughts.
So for Philly, for me, I mean, I follow them closely because they're in my division. For Philly, it's two things. It's Jalen Hurts isn't playing as he played last year. He has 7 interceptions.
Yep, and there's a reason for that.
He has 7
part two,
interceptions.
I'm waiting to see. That's what
His coach, his
offensive coordinator
gone.
That's the key.
His offensive coordinator is gone.
That also happened with Josh Allen when Brian Daboll left.
Yes.
You know why? They weren't putting those offensive coordinators were putting them in situations that played to their strengths.
Yes.
And stayed away from taking chances. This offensive coordinator is letting them turn loose, and he's not that type of player that can just make stuff happen with his arm. It's a combination of he fear his run, the nice safe pass, take what's open, take the best matchup. He's not reading the field.
Yeah. And for me, the second part of it is their defense their secondary is not the same. No.
Well, didn't they have a major injury already?
Yeah. So one of their starters was lost for the season. That was week. I want to say
hyphenated
week 2.
name there.
Yes.
Gardner Johnson.
Yes, I want to say week.
He's with the Lions.
No, it was another guy. It was another guy. They lost him in week 2, and then they had to basically bring somebody up off the practice squad and elevate a guy that was I'm not sure who it is, but same thing the Cowboys did. They had to take the guy from the slot and put him on the corner, and that's pretty much not their norm. And not to mention that they lost 2 guys from last year. They lost the corner and they lost the safety, and it's not the same. Granted, their strength is probably their run defense because they're so bulky up
and
top.
They lost Hargraves, but Carter stepped in to fill that void, but
They-
no
they-
depth.
If I'm not mistaken, I don't think Carter played on Sunday either.
No?
Him and Darius Slay were questionable. I don't know if they played, but I don't think they did.
They're so bulky up front. The thing with them is they need they need to get their back end to match up with their front end, and it's just not happening. Which is most evident for me by looking at the scores in which I mentioned, all 1-score games with the exception of one. And this is the reason for me, anyway. This is the major difference with the team from this year and last year. And I did hear that point as well about Hurts, about him struggling because he doesn't have his OC from last year.
I think his OC knew what he had in Hurts and knew how to put him in more positive situations than negative. I think the new OC is giving Hurts the reins, and Hurts isn't making good decisions.
Yeah. Well, it obviously, him having 7 interceptions and he only had 6 last year.
5.
Was it 5?
Yep, 5
or
picks
5 last year?
And 7. Yeah, Barry put it on the comments.
But it doesn't even make a difference. You've already surpassed your total in
Quarter
6
of the way.
games.
Yeah.
That can't be good. And it just goes to show coaching does matter. You can have all the talent in the world, and if you're not comfortable, like you said, if you're not put in those right situations and they playing to the strength of the quarterback, you may make some bad decisions. And for him, it seems almost to me like his feet are moving too much.
According to the stats, Carter nor Slay recorded anything, so I'm not saying that either one of them played.
Yeah, but when you look at him and the pocket starts closing on him, it looks as if he has happy feet. And then what he's doing is he's throwing off the back foot. That can't be done. You can't throw off the back foot and you can't rush string. If anything, throw it away. And he did that a lot last year. He threw the ball away. When he got in trouble, he used his legs. Maybe he needs to do that a little more. Maybe he needs to use his legs a little more to string a play out or two.
Because he uses his tight end a lot too.
Got it.
And he needs to use Swift out of the backfield a little more, just because of the safe plays. And then forced people to account for the tight end and forced people to account for the back out of the backfield. Now you got Brown, because that pass he threw to Smith at the end was crazy. Like Smith is what? 5'6" and a half. No, Smith. It's not, but Smith is a small receiver, and he threw it up in double coverage like he was going to outjump him.
Yeah.
And I was like, "What the hell? You're throwing it? You know who you're throwing it to? That's not AJ Brown over there."
Yeah, or Devonta Smith. But yeah, that's the big difference for me. Whereas last year, that's they obviously they have some some different moving parts, but last year they won, because of his good play, because of his good decisions. Now the games are much, and the games last year were blowouts. They blew out a lot of teams. This year they're struggling. They're finding a way to win, which isn't a bad thing until you play a good team. And just as everybody's saying, the Cowboys are going to be tested. Guess what? Philly has the same schedule. All they do is they play these teams 1 or 2 weeks after one another. So it falls both ways.
Philly's got a tough game this week.
Yeah, they're playing Miami.
Yeah.
They're playing Miami. We'll talk about that later. For the preview for next week's games. But I think he needs to, So when it's funny because when you look at him, I think that he is going through kind of what Dak Prescott went through. The uncertainty and just throwing the ball instead of getting it away. Get either A, try to get away or take the sack. But when you try to rush things, hence here comes the 7 interceptions. And I believe he's 1 away from Garoppolo. I believe Garoppolo leads the league with 8. But it's one of those things where he just has to maybe take an extra second or two, use his legs, or throw the ball away. He's trying to force things too much. I get last year that it came easy for him. And as we always say, another year of film.
Yep.
Another
People
year.
didn't adjust last year because they probably didn't believe he was going to
Well,
be good in long term.
He went from being. Think about it, right? He took over the last 4 or 5 games the year before, and he did well. Nothing that was like gonna blow your socks off. But then he had a whole fresh new season, and he was phenomenal. But now, as you say, as we say all the time, once somebody gets film on you, and looks at your strengths and your weaknesses, and they apply it.
Garoppolo has 8. He has 7.
Yeah.
So to your point, similar to what we're seeing with Purdy, similar to what we saw with in the past, Gardner Minshew, guys had spurts where they played real well, and then when you had enough film, now we're like, what does he do well? What doesn't he? All right, we're going to force it, and they weren't talented enough to adjust. Like, we took away your strength.
Yeah,
we're forcing you to play to your weakness, and then they couldn't do it.
Sometimes, sometimes it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work exactly that way. I get it. Sometimes, conversely, your quarterback might be making the mistakes to help him out, and he might be making the mistakes. But it seemed as if last year he was on the receiving end of a lot of good plays, getting the ball extra through his defense, and these efficiencies that he's facing now. They didn't happen last year, and he never was in a spot where we questioned him. And now he's being questioned, rightfully so. People, I put a post out there the beginning of the week, and I said, why, and it's funny that I said this because a couple of days after, Micah Parsons pretty much said the same thing. Why isn't, people were like, oh, so the thing was, why aren't people calling out? Why aren't people calling him out? Because he had a bad game, and he has a lot of interceptions. Well, because he's 5-1. He's 5-1, but look at his stats. his stats are, aren't they're not good. They're not good, and I use the Jets to say, listen, they played against the same team, and the Cowboys defense really racked up on the Jets as far as turnovers, sacks, and all that stuff. But Dak Prescott had nearly a perfect game, a perfect passer rating. No turnovers, 2 touchdowns, and conversely, you know, Hertz had a very bad game. I said, why aren't they running it like they ran, like they ran Prescott, like he played last week, the week before against San Fran? And then everybody's response was like, well, because he played last year. Last year isn't going to help you with this year. It really isn't. If my response was like, listen, if you play like a jackass, you're going to get the donkey of the day, the donkey of the week award. And it's true. And Michael Parsons came out and he said the same thing. And then even a lot of people were like, well, because he went to the Super Bowl last year, and he, that last year isn't going to help you.
He didn't win it.
Exactly. Last year isn't going to help you. What you did last year as opposed to what you do this year. If you were on a contract year and you stunk to join up, you can't use, I went to the Super Bowl 2 years ago. That's not going to help you. It's not going to help you.
Well, his stats right now: 141 completions, 213 attempts. That's for a 66.2 completion percentage, 1,542 yards, 257 a game, 7 touchdowns, 7 INTs, 14 sacks.
7-7.
14.
7-7.
Been 14 sacks in 6 games.
Yeah. 7-7. And something that should be brought to light, Philly is considered to have one of the best lines in the NFL.
I was just about to say that.
Did they get Lane Johnson back last?
Yes.
Yeah, because he was
Yes.
out for a few.
No, he was he
Never-
he,
never was out. He
he
got
never
hurt.
was out. He got
He
hurt
got hurt
because his consecutive
He never.
yeah.
Oh,
Never.
because I know
He
they were
never-
saying
no.
they weren't sure if he was going to play last week, so I figured
No.
he was hurt.
No, he wasn't hurt. He was questionable and all that stuff, but and like I said, they're considered to have one of the stout, offensive lines, and 7-7. That's to me, that's not good.
That's a mid-level quarterback.
Yeah, it's not good. And people are like, oh, but he's 5-1. He's 5-1 because you played against a lot of trash teams. All right, I'm going to call it for what it is. You played against a lot of trash teams, and you've barely won. Like I said, going into last week prior to the loss, 4 out of the 5 were decided by a single touchdown or less.
Wasn't that the same argument we were saying when the Cowboys lost to San Fran? We're like, that was the first good team they played.
Yeah.
Philly, you said Philly and Dallas have the same schedule.
Yeah.
So eventually they'll all play the same
Yes.
people, but who plays them earlier? Neither one had been tested yet.
So Philly and Dallas play in 2 weeks.
Philly got a rough schedule.
It's
Them and
it's the
Dallas
same-
got
it's
the
the same
same.
thing. It's the same thing.
They play the same divisional
It's the
schedule, the
same
same other
thing.
division.
It's the same.
just in a different order.
Yes, it's the same schedule. They might play somebody like, for instance, the Philly played the Rams. I want to say 3 weeks ago. The Cowboys just played them last week. You know what I'm saying? But it
Played the Rams,
excuse me, not the Rams.
Chargers.
Chargers.
Mm.
They play them in 2. I believe it's 2 weeks. They play them. But yeah, it's their schedule's all the same. They play the AFC East, and then they play the same. The only thing that's different is they've got the
They don't play the Chargers.
who doesn't play the Chargers? They don't play. They don't play them.
Well,
Or
the
is it the
Chargers
Rams?
finished in 3rd place. in
It's the Rams.
Yeah, they played the Rams.
So it's the Chiefs. That's who they play. They play the Chiefs. That's the only different game that they have. The Cowboys don't play the
You
Chiefs.
play the Bills this year?
Yes, we play the whole AFC East. We play the whole AFC.
No, you played the whole AFC West.
and the AFC West. And the AFC West. But we don't play the Chiefs. That was the only different game. For some reason, I don't know
But
how
the
they
AFC
determined-
East is
No, AFC East is the Patriots.
yeah.
Bills, Jets, Miami, Buffalo. We
Yeah.
all play those whole teams.
This year?
Yes. Yes.
That's weird that you play 2 AFC conferences.
Yeah, no, so what's happening is we don't play all the teams. We play certain teams
because
Because of the schedule.
because
KC finished first and Eagles finished first.
Mhm.
They'll
yes,
play each other.
yes, exactly. That's the only difference in the schedule.
And these guys played the Chargers.
Yes, yes, exactly. But that's the only difference in this in their schedule. But yeah, they play the same teams. It's going to be the same thing. People are like, oh, Cowboys have a rough schedule. Well, they both have rough schedules. It's a playoff schedule. It's a playoff schedule, and by chance you're playing a division that has the obviously Buffalo and Miami in it, that are two of the better teams. So yes, it's going to be difficult, but that's the thing with Philly. It's just the adversity is here now. How is Jalen Hurts going to respond to it? Is he going to revert into the guy that we saw 2 years ago that took over at I believe he took over at week 10 or something like that? Yeah. And basically got mauled in the playoffs because he had that. We saw flashes of how he played last year. Can he do it on a consistent basis? I mean, we're a third of the way through. So if you if you want to flip those numbers into a projection, he's going to throw close to 18, 19 interceptions. I mean, it's only a projection. It doesn't mean anything.
Not for nothing with seeing that schedule.
It's only going to get rougher.
Yeah.
It's only going to get rougher. And the same thing can be said with the Cowboys. It's only going to get rougher with them too. The Giants, they've already, the Giants, and people laughed at me when I said it last year. They played a power to puff schedule. They're playing a playoff schedule this year. Look what's happening to them. What are they? 1-6, 1-5, or something like that.
They kept Barkley healthy last year. This year, not so much, and they don't have the wide receivers to be difference makers. Barkley and Jones are their only difference makers.
Their offensive line
It's decimated. It's
They're-
decimated, and they just lost somebody today.
The left tackle.
The bicep or something like
How
that.
did I play left tackle on the other night?
Yeah, he lost. It was bicep or something like that. I think it was his bicep. He tore his bicep. But yeah, it goes to show you, just when you look at it, a few tweaks here and there, a few players out here and there, and it makes the world of difference. But you got to look at the schedule too, because last year they had a last place schedule, and they beat a lot of teams closely. Granted, they got in the playoffs and they beat you guys, but I didn't mean it as a dig. I didn't mean he's laughing. He's laughing, not me.
You said it.
I know, but you're laughing.
Derek couldn't wait.
Pointed at it. I was leaving that alone.
No, but I'm saying, granted, they beat them. I'm not no dig or anything. But when you get to a playoff schedule, now it's really going to show what you're made of. And granted, they're hanging in there on these games, but they're coming straight. I don't know what the heck. What? So for me, how they lost, what was it? Sunday night? Yeah, Sunday night. How they lost on the last play of the game like that.
Yo, that was terrible.
It was. Listen, if you have a quarterback, this is football 101. If you have a quarterback who has the ability to run,
Spread them out,
and look, for me, if I'm a coach, I'm going to spread. Not only am I going to spread him out, but he's going to roll to a side. You're going to give him a running chance, and you're going to give him a throwing chance.
Yep.
So, to which neither did they. Had a tight formation, and they tried to throw it to the tallest tight end on the thing. It's like, no, you want to, if anything, you want to get him away from everyone. You want to give him, you want to use that 50 yards sideways. And they were like, no, we're going to attack.
Yo,
we're
you would
tight.
think that they would have learned from halftime.
Well, halftime was on him. He changed the play up.
Yeah, but still.
He changed the play up. That was all on him.
But
He was the one that called the audible and changed it up. But
I blame that on the coach too, because in that situation, you tell him we're not audibling out of this.
yeah, Maybe he
That's what we're doing.
maybe he didn't think he was going to audible out of it. But being a backup quarterback, he thought he saw something that wasn't there.
But he's a former stop.
Yeah, he is a former starting quarterback. So I think that's what led him to say, okay, well, I've been down this road before. I can audible out of it.
I know what I'm doing.
But the Giants, they're keeping it close. They're keeping a lot of their games close. But it just goes to show you that they're not. Last year, I think they were second behind you guys in
Close wins.
close wins. They were second. I think they had 7. You guys had like 8 or 9 or something.
Yeah,
like that.
ours was a
You set a record.
anomaly. I was
You
like,
set-
wow,
you-
we won again. Wow, we won
You
again.
set a record last year. It was a record for
one score.
one score wins. Yeah, but the Giants were right behind you. So yeah, it just goes to show you, the schedule does matter. It does matter when you come down to to the end. All right, looking at any other games. Any other games catch your eye?
Not
during
games,
Week
but
6?
the thing that I wanted to throw in was how many 5-1 teams do we have now? 5 of them?
4, 5.
And where would you guys rank them? Because they're all pretty much equal. But would you say they're all on the
right.
same level, or
It's-
does one rank higher than the other?
I
It's
think, in my opinion,
Uh-oh.
yeah.
Uh-oh. Here it comes, the homer.
No. He's not. So that was going to be one of my questions.
Oh.
One of my questions were going to be, what would be your top 5 teams in the league?
me, I go San Fran,
Yeah, I still think San Fran deserves to be.
Yes.
San Fran,
Then it gets hard.
Miami, Detroit, Philly.
Kansas City.
Oh wait, oh shit.
Yeah, that's why I was like, where are you going to put them?
Shit. I forgot about them.
So are you just talking about 5-1 teams? Or are you talking about teams overall?
I'm saying just the 5-1 teams because there's like 4 or 5 of them.
Yeah, but you know something.
I'm sorry. I
You
think I put
but
KC.
but you can't. But so this is my argument. All right. So if you were to take the Bills aren't 5-1, but they beat a team that is 5-1. Not only they beat them, they dominated them.
Yep. And
They
also
dominated the
got
Dolphins.
hurt by Jacksonville in England.
Yes. But
A good win
so
and a good
so
loss.
so how could you know what I'm saying? So for me, my question was going to be, who are your top 5 teams overall?
I don't put
Dallas
the Bills in the
record.
top 5. So
I do.
yeah, because they lost to the Jets and they lost to the.
I do. I'm going to.
They lost to the Jets without Rodgers.
I'm going to give you my top 5, and I'll tell you why. All right. So my top 5 would be 49ers 1.
Mm-hmm.
All right. You guys are probably going to think I'm crazy, but I will put the Bills at 2.
Derek,
Want to
he's
know
crazy.
why? You want to know why? We look at Miami. All right. They beat Miami. All right. Miami got exposed by them. Defensively, Miami is not there. We're going to see what Miami is made of somewhat next week. Okay. Defensively.
So you put the Bills over KC?
Hold on. All right. So I'm gonna finish my list. Okay. So I'll put the Bills at 2, the Lions at 3, the Eagles at 4, and the Dolphins at 5. Kansas City would be my honorable mention.
Wow.
Kansas City for me is not Kansas City of last year.
No, I don't think so either.
They're not Kansas City of last year. They're not Kansas City of last year. Just as we talked about other teams struggling, they have had the same issue, struggling to win.
Similar to
And-
Philadelphia.
And they have struggled against some pretty bad teams. They lost against a 5-1 team in you, but they have struggled against some really bad teams. All right. So that is the reason why I think their 5-1 record is kind of fluffed.
And they had 2 games that ended in controversy,
Yeah.
Minnesota and the Jets, that
Yes. Yes.
they could very easily gone either way.
Here we go.
When
That is
we were
my
watching-
reasoning.
When we were watching down at the bar, arguments were breaking out about that issue. And I was like, we went to the videotape and I was just like, look at this. Especially like even in the Minnesota game, the pass interference gets picked up, but the dude still took his helmet off.
Yeah.
But the interpretation was once they picked up the flag, that means change of possession. So you can't. I was under the impression you can't take off your helmet
You're
on
not
the field.
supposed
Period.
to. You're not supposed to.
Right.
You're not
But the way it was being explained, and I didn't know if that was an NFL rule. Once it changes possession, it wiped out. No, you still took off your helmet, so that still should have been 15 yards.
Yeah, you're not supposed to.
So that would have been 1st and 5 with like 46 seconds. But the Jets game, that hold,
yeah, that was very questionable.
yeah.
So for me, this is the reason why I don't put Kansas City in there. I don't think Kansas City. I think that 5-1 record for me anyway is not a true representation of a 5-1 team. That is the reason why I do not have Kansas City in there. All right. The reason why I do have Buffalo in there, I think Buffalo is going to be just how Buffalo was last year. I think they'll come on in the end. When I look at Buffalo, I think they have. When you talk about a complete team, I think offensively and defensively, I think they're better than Kansas City. All right.
But they have no running game.
But listen, offensively and defensively, collectively, I think they are a better team than Kansas City.
Kansas City's defense is underrated. They're getting better, but their offense is getting worse.
I don't see it yet. It could be there, but I don't see it there. I have to put them ahead of the Dolphins because they beat the Dolphins. All right. Not only did they beat the Dolphins, they smacked the Dolphins up.
Everybody stubs their toe.
They stubbed their toe, but they exposed the Dolphins. They exposed.
That's like saying San Fran exposed the Cowboys.
They did, but they didn't expose them because Arizona exposed them.
Well,
Arizona
that's 2
exposed
losses, but
Arizona exposed them because they pretty much did the same thing to the Cowboys. They ran the ball and then they just mixed the ball and with turnovers. It was a perfect storm. But for me, I think in the end, I think that Buffalo will be there in the end because they have offense and they have a better defense than Kansas City.
The thing with Buffalo is, I think teams are going to pick up on it. Is Mr. Allen wants to go to Mr. Diggs way.
Well, so
Diggs is the squeaky wheel. He's forcing that action.
Force feeding it.
So
a team with a good defense,
Well, take him away.
So from
then what happens?
so well you got that other guy that went off last year too.
He hasn't gone off this year.
But it's early. It's early. It's early yet. It's early yet. So I think, but this is my thing. I think that they will figure it out. And come the end, I still firmly believe they're going to win that division. I don't think the Dolphins are going to win that division.
Well, we'll see.
A lot of people, I think a lot of people are blinded by the offense. Okay. They're like, oh my God, they're putting up 40. They're doing this. They're doing that. Once again, who has the Dolphins really beat?
Gabe Davis, three.
I don't remember who Miami's schedule is, but it's getting tough this week. So we'll see a true test.
Who
this
have
week.
so the one team that they have played? Pull up Miami's schedule. The one team that they did
They played everybody in their division.
Yes, and they actually struggled against the Patriots. Tyreek Hill, I think, had like 60 yards, because of the way that Belichick. So the way that Belichick played him, he played them in a 3-tier defense.
They played the Chargers. They beat 36-34.
Okay,
That was game 1.
Dolphins. They beat Patriots 24-17.
they struggled.
Broncos.
Yes, that was the, and then they got their butts whipped,
Smashed.
and then they won last week.
They beat the Giants.
Yes,
Okay.
they
beat the Giants, and then they beat Carolina.
Giants was close, wasn't it?
31-16.
31. It was close until the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
It was a 1-score game. It was.
But we're talking about them struggling to win, and Buffalo struggled to lose twice.
Yeah, but
they haven't played the greatest schedule, and they got 2 losses.
So what I'm going to say is, as far as once we go on in the season, I still have more confidence with a complete team as a team that doesn't have a defense.
Derek,
that was my
Buffalo's schedule as
that
of right
was my
now.
reason,
Because it's going to be the same thing Brian just tried to lay out with the Dolphins. They have the same schedule, just like Philly, Dallas.
They lost to the Jets 22-16.
yes, and they lost to the Jaguars.
They beat the Raiders.
They looked horrible against the Jaguars.
Yes, they did.
They beat the Commanders 37-3. They beat the Dolphins 48-20.
So outside of Miami,
head to head.
They lost to Jaguars 20.
yeah, but their strength of schedule is where
25 to
they
20,
played one game and they looked good against the Dolphins.
and they beat the Giants 14-9.
The toughness in their schedule is
So
coming up.
so my thing is they've already got a one. So literally, they're it's a divisional game. So when you look at it that way, they're only one game behind. Because now Miami is forced to beat them, all right, and not stumble their toe outside of the division. This is my reasoning. That's just my thinking.
Right. Division, they're both 1-1.
Yeah, because they lost to the Jets.
No, actually, the whole division's 1-1. Jets lost to the Patriots.
Yes. That's a Patriots only win.
Yeah.
That's a Patriots only win. The Patriots actually swept the Jets last year. As bad as they were, they actually swept them. There's something about the Jets. I think the next go round they won't be so fortunate.
But you said this week Miami has Philly, right?
Yes, Miami has Philly.
The argument you used earlier lays both of them in the same position.
Yes.
So this will be an equal test.
So my thing is we've witnessed what happened when they played Buffalo. Somebody who's considered a supposed to
A
be
good
an upper,
2-loss team. Yeah.
a good 2-loss team. But the kicker is that's a division. That's a loss. It's a division rival.
And
but
everybody knows
but-
everybody in the
So
division.
so what's going to happen is we're going to see this upcoming week what that defense is all about, because I got a funny feeling that Philly's going to say, listen, we're going to keep the ball out of your hand. We're going to play keep away, and we're going to enforce our physicality on your defense, something that you couldn't handle when you played against Buffalo.
And that game was in Buffalo.
Yes, yeah, it was in Buffalo. But you got to remember, they just came off of almost a record-breaking
Yes.
the week before.
I think they let down because they looked so good one week. They might have been feeling themselves, and they got handled going into opposing territory. A good opposing team.
Yeah.
Scroll up to the comments. I want you to see Barry's picks. I'm surprised there's one team missing. Just that last comment that Barry has on there. Yeah. His 5 teams.
All right. 49ers, Lions, Chiefs,
I think
Bills,
Eric might agree with that.
Dolphins.
No Philly. And he agrees with you that Buffalo should be higher.
He's a Cowboy guy, too.
Yeah, so he hates everybody else in the division. Yeah, I get it.
No, I don't. I have Philly in my
No,
top.
Barry says that all the time.
Oh, I have Philly
Barry,
in my top.
every
5.
week he'll post, what the rest of the division is doing, because as long as they don't win, then the Cowboys' record will be.
I actually have them in my top 5, but I like I said, my reasoning is I think at come the end of the year, I think that Buffalo will be there. I think that their defense is better than Buffalo's defense, and I think that I think that will help them. Come the end of the year. You got to remember too. So, when you get out of the confines of South Florida and you have to play in messy weather in New York, in New England, they've already withstood, obviously playing in Buffalo in September, that in early October, that was a plus to them. What happens when they play out of the confines? What happens when they have to go to Buffalo? Let's hypothetically speaking. No. In the playoffs, let's say Buffalo ends up with a better record. What happens when they have to go there in January? And
The warm weather teams never defend well.
What happens when they have to go to Buffalo in January or KC, where the weather is 10, 15 degrees, with a gusty wind, where you cannot throw the ball like you're normally used to slinging it all around? This is
I don't know.
another
Mostert and a chain have been running the ball
this
pretty
is-
well.
but that's mixed in. That's a lot of mixed in because they're passing. So you can have a little more of a balanced offense. But when the weather changes, that's the thing for me. Are you going to be a 50-50 team? Are you going to be a 70-30 team? You know what I'm saying? So that was the reason for me as well, is okay, you're doing it all great and well while the weather's good
Right.
and you're in sunny Florida. But if you don't secure, remember, there's only one team that gets a bye.
Yep.
Only one team that gets a bye. All right, and then that team's gonna have home field playoff throughout.
But that's down the road. We were talking about after this week, the 5-1 teams.
Well, yeah,
just right now.
Yeah.
So that's down the road.
Yeah.
That'll be a whole nother argument. But the schedules will pan out by then too.
Oh, yeah,
because
yeah.
everybody
Schedules-
will have to play everybody, and we'll be able to judge everybody equally. But I just thought it was ironic that me and Derek had Buffalo out, Barry had Philly out, and you had Kansas City out.
yeah.
I can't see Kansas City being out of the top 5.
I just like I said, for me, I don't see them as being the same team as last year.
I can't see a 4-2 team in the top 5.
Me neither.
Yeah, well,
Things could
Because
change.
everybody else stubbed their toe once, but Buffalo stubbed their toe twice.
Things can change in a week or two.
So as of right now, and Buffalo hasn't played nobody really good. I mean, Miami, that was it. They played one tough game. They won it. But then the rest of the games, they got 2 losses against inferior competition.
I would say
Jacksonville,
Jacksonville.
the Jets without
good.
Aaron Rodgers, the
Jacksonville's got 2
the
losses.
first week.
Yeah, 2 losses.
But Jacksonville hasn't played well until recently.
They're not bums.
The last 2 weeks, Jacksonville's played well because my man Travis Etienne's been stepping on the gas pedal.
And they got Trevor Lawrence hurt right now.
Yeah,
He might
is
not
he?
play tonight.
Yeah, that's what
He's
I'm watching to
questionable.
see if I have to take him out of my lineup.
He's questionable. So yeah, it's good to see contrast and
I just think there's a lot of parity at the top. There's no one dead runaway team no more.
Did you give your top 5?
No.
Oh.
Because Brian wanted to tell us how Buffalo was.
No, go ahead. No, I just
But-
gave you mine.
But my top 5 team is everybody but Buffalo.
So you got Kansas City.
But
in there.
How do you got them going? In what order?
And I got the 49ers. I got the Lions. I got KC.
So
and I
KC's
got
at
Miami.
So in that order that you just said.
I got KC higher than Miami.
So
I just don't have Buffalo. I got
49.
Philly,
So you got 49ers 1,
Detroit
Lions
2, Kansas City 3,
Okay.
Philly 4, and Miami 5.
I'm the only one that didn't have the Lions too. I had the Lions at 3.
I
I just feel the Lions defense isn't getting
no, I had
the
Lions at
credit
3.
because
You said 2.
No, I said 3.
Oh wait, yeah, 3. I'm sorry.
I said
Yes, you
3.
did, you did.
but
I've got 49ers, Bills, Lions.
I think the Lions have looked more impressive in their wins than some of the other teams. They had the one bad week, and it wasn't that much of a bad week. Seattle's a good team, so they lost to a higher quality team.
We lost in overtime.
Right, but your loss came to a higher quality team, so that gives you a little bit rise. But I also penalize you for the Kansas City game a little bit because of the 2 stars being out. But overall, I still think you're the second best team in the league right now. I like your defense. I like what Aiden Hutchinson's doing.
The defense. If we get, if they can, if the
Yeah.
Lions can get-
You got signed last week, so I
Yeah.
forgot.
If the Lions can get another guy on the edge,
Maybe Decon. Yeah.
I think that'd be going to be crazy.
Well, we're still 1 week removed from the trade deadline.
I just love the parity because when you can't name one runaway team, like there's no one team that's head and shoulders above. Every week, number 5 could move to number 1, number 2 could fall all the way down to number 7. And the teams at the bottom aren't as bad as people think.
No.
I mean, you got Arizona being competitive. You got what's the Commanders' record? Are they below 500?
Yeah.
Oh, they're 3-3.
Yeah, they're 5.
But teams that weren't doing that good last year are competitive this year.
But no, so to your point, you've got the Jets who have since the Cowboys game, they've been in every game.
I
They've
think
been
because
in
Brees Hall's
every-
gotten healthy and Zach Wilson's gotten more confident.
Well, that's the thing. For me, I think it's Zach Wilson with every game. He's getting a little more
Yep.
confidence.
Now he
a little more
believes in
confidence.
himself.
And the defense has obviously been a savior. They've kind of
Mm-hmm.
rallied behind it. They've we've known that they've had a good defense.
And they didn't have, like you said,
Yeah.
Sauce Gardner and the other
Yes.
DB last
Look
week.
at this one. Not for nothing, but it's a team that we talked about last week and the week before. Cincinnati's 3-3, but
They're picking up steam now.
they're last in the division right now.
Yep.
Yeah.
But they the last 2 weeks they've looked all right. They're gonna
What's going to be for a lot of these teams, you're going to have to take care of divisional and conference. You're going to have to. We're talking about these 5-1 teams, and you know who has the inside track in the NFC is Detroit.
Detroit.
Because no common opponents.
Not only that, but and that I think our schedule's a lot weaker.
Oh, it
Yeah,
is,
'cause it's
because
a
not a
non-playoff
non-playoff
schedule.
team. That's what I'm saying.
So compared to all the other teams, all those other teams were in the playoffs
Yes,
last year.
yes.
So Detroit has a little.
So they
bit of
have
benefit.
they have the inside track on being able to to sail past those other teams, because the other teams may beat up on one another.
And it doesn't hurt that your division isn't as good as it normally is. Either.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And also the addition of Montgomery's going overlooked, because when he's healthy, he's looking like head and shoulders above Jamar
not
Gibbs.
not for nothing, but when you got the number one offensive rated line, that has a lot to do with it.
They're the number one offense. I know they had a good line. I didn't know they were.
As of last week, they were rated number one.
Yeah. So
But their schedule, even though it's not as tough now, will get tougher, and we'll see. I mean, they played Kansas City, but there'll be other tough games.
It's tough. We have a tough game coming up this week.
Who they got this week?
Baltimore.
At Baltimore.
Yeah.
And Baltimore
Yeah,
didn't look
they're
good last
you
week.
guys are underdogs.
First,
It's in Baltimore, right?
Yes.
second time. Yeah,
Isn't that where you got frustrated last year at last round and because of the 60-yard field goal?
I was 66. I
60,
was
60
in Detroit 2 years ago.
Oh, it was 2 years ago? I thought that was last year. Derek was like,
That was bullshit.
yeah, 66-yard field goal.
Hey, I heard it. Hit the
Only
crossbar.
Justin Tucker,
I heard it. Hit the
I would
crossbar.
think,
I was
is
like,
capable of that.
And I see the refs go like this. I'm like, what do you mean? That's bullshit. But I think we got a lot better team this year than we did that. So.
Yeah, no, you guys. So over the last, what was it, 14 games or 15 games? You guys,
Last
17 games?
last 13 and 13.
Yeah, they started off
Yeah.
bad last year and then
Yeah.
got real good the second half of the year.
Yeah,
And they
I
started
heard-
off good this
13
year.
games, 13 and 3.
Last
There's
16.
only one team better that had a better record, and that was two teams. One team was the 49ers. Only have one loss in the last 13 games.
Yeah, because Purdy won 12 in a row.
And it had to
and
be the
then he
Eagles
won
too,
the
because
first-
Hurts had that record of he was 17-1 to start his career, and he just missed breaking the record last week. I think he's tied with Peyton Manning and
Not
somebody.
Hurts.
Yeah,
Purdy.
No, Hurts to start his career.
No,
was
because
17-1.
no,
as a
because
starter.
no, he couldn't have been, because when he took over,
He won the last 4 games.
he when he took over, he lost. I want to say when he took over, he was 4-2 or something. To
Watch
that
when
effect.
Derek calls it up. I know there was something
They
that
lost to the Cowboys.
I saw the stat. It said
What was that? Oh,
to start his career, the quarterback with the best record to start his career.
Brock Purdy.
No, he hasn't played that many games yet.
Brock Purdy's he played the first 12 last year, and he played the first 6 this year.
Not the first 12 last year. He came in at the end.
No, he didn't.
Somebody else started, then Purdy came
No,
in.
Garoppolo got hurt.
The beginning of the year last year?
Yes. He was done for the season. He
Yeah,
was
but
done for the season.
I just don't
He
remember
won
it being the
12
beginning.
in a row. It was either 11 or 12 in a row.
I'm waiting for the information.
And
I'm
then
almost positive.
and then he won his-
99.9, like a paternity
and then
test.
and then he won his first 5 games. I want to say he was 17.
I remember
17
they
and
showed
one.
the top 5 to start their careers. And Hurts had tied or broke the record 17-1 to start his career. Winningest quarterbacks to start their career.
I don't know. Maybe
Barry, you on
22 and 2. 22 and 2.
Yeah, because he just lost last week. You're talking about Hurts. Yeah,
well,
it
that's
was
what Barry
something in
has.
1, and it was a record, and then he lost last week. Now it's 22 and 2.
So
Barry?
what is Purdy? 17 and 1 or
Yeah, but
16
he just
or
hasn't
17
played
and
as
1?
many games as Hurts, and Hurts had only lost 1 regular season game as a starter. And they were like unbelievable the way to start the career. The end of that first year, all last year, and so far this year, he had only lost 1 game until last week. And I just
What was their
wow.
record last year?
Who's that?
Philly.
What was Philly's
Well, they
record?
won the division, right?
Yeah, they won. They were the top seed.
Had to be like 13-3
Might have been 13.
because they were ranked ahead of
So
Minnesota.
if he was
Minnesota
13 and
was
3, he didn't
13
play
and
those
4.
games. I'm lost. He didn't play in those games.
Who, Purdy?
No.
Oh,
Hurts.
no, Hurts was never out. When he took over for Wentz that last 4 games of the year or 5 games of the year,
They lost to the Cowboys.
14.
But-
Who?
Purdy.
It was a 14.
Oh,
All right. So he didn't play those 2 games that they lost. Oh yeah,
Hurts
he didn't.
was
He
out.
didn't.
Yeah,
he didn't.
he was out.
They lost against the Cowboys. That's right. They lost against the Cowboys. Yeah. Yes, he was. He was out for 2 games.
Mm-hmm.
He was out for 2 games.
But the games he was in,
And they lost to Washington.
Amazing
They
record.
lost to Washington last year. That's right. They lost to Washington with him in. You know, I want to say it was like week 14 or 13 or something.
But 21-2 to start your career is pretty impressive.
Yeah.
When you weren't supposed to be, considered a NFL starting quarterback coming out of school.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah,
I just really think with him, I think he's not capable right now of reading the defenses good enough to make the decisions. He's not making great. But when he had his offensive coordinator, I think he put him in the positions. He called the plays, and he was like, "This is what we're going to do."
Jets. Oh, wait, this year.
No, they didn't lose to the Jets.
yeah. No, this year. So last year they lost to the Cowboys. They lost to Washington, and
Sat out.
because they lost week. No, he didn't sit out.
Sat out against the Cowboys.
He sat out against the Cowboys. So they were undefeated. I think they were 10-0 or 11-0, and then the Commanders beat them.
So that's 10 games right there, and then he lost 1, and then he won whatever games this year.
And they lost.
And
They lost. Yeah.
So he won 6 games this year. So that's 16, and then you add on the last 5 games when he took over for Wentz at the end of the first year. But it's impressive either way. I was just like, wow.
Yeah, no, he but this is a different season, and like I said, as far as his
Tape on him too.
what he's gonna do is, it's different. That's not gonna help you what he did last year. Yeah, you can carry those wins over for your overall record, but it's not going to help you this as time goes along this year.
How many teams are in the NFL? Because Barry posted
32.
22 teams are over 500.
32, 262. 32 teams.
22, 500 or better.
So there's 10 that are below
So,
500.
Yeah, but that many winning. Usually it's like half and half because somebody got to win, somebody got to lose.
Yeah, but that you can't look at it until you're 9 games in, because it's
whole league?
uneven. It's you know what I'm saying? It's parity.
Yeah, and
no-
that was the point I was.
But
gonna
I'm
bring
saying,
up.
look at it after week 9.
Do you think it's gonna even out more?
Oh yeah, of course it will. Of course it will. I think it'll
So we're 3 weeks away from that happening.
watch. So we'll revisit this conversation in week
That'll be interesting.
after week 9.
Yeah.
After week 9, not before. After week 9, we'll revisit it and see how things are, or what the case may be. But when we look at the teams, like you said, the 5-1 teams, the 4-2 teams. I as far as the 5-1 teams, so you got the Dolphins, Chiefs, Eagles, Lions, 49ers. I don't think there's really any surprises in there.
But a healthy 49ers team is still number 1 to me.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
After that, it gets real murky.
The Lions, we all thought that they were going to be a good team based on how they finished last year. You could see the progression building up, and them slowly getting better and better to the point where they're at now. And as I said, they have the inside track because of the fact that their strength of schedule isn't what the other teams are. Now you got those other teams going head to head. They might beat up on each other, and Detroit just keeps going like that. But it's yet to be seen.
Still a long season.
Oh yeah. We're week 7. You can't.
I still ain't given 100% on that with the Lions.
It's just week 7.
But every chance I get to throw it in Steve's face, I'm done.
Yeah, well, it might be tough after next week, after this week, because they got a tough game. They haven't had a big
But
schedule
you're
yet.
still going to lose.
I'm upset that Kurt won't waive his no trade contract right now.
Why
So
would
we're
he?
stuck with him. And now Jefferson's saying he might be out 6 weeks. I'm like, great. We went from the number 5 overall pick to like number 11 with that win over the Bears last week. I was so upset. Danny, your brother was like, what are you doing? I said, I need Minnesota to lose. We're not going nowhere this week.
Hey, you notice how my brother didn't want to answer my phone.
Oh, it was funny. Yo, Derek, I said, your brother would be calling you soon. He goes, that's him now. I said, I should call him on speakerphone and say, guess who's not answering your call? He goes, you asshole. You asshole. I'm just going to get another pitcher of Bud Light and another bucket of wings. And I'm out of here. This is bullshit. We got robbed. What do you mean you got robbed? Your field goal kicker missed a field goal. No matter what happened, you had a chance to win.
Yeah, they did.
Dude had not missed a field goal all year. Their rookie kicker.
Yep.
And he blew it.
Hey, it was funny, man, because I'm watching the game. I had it just like this. I'm like, come on, please miss. Boop.
He was like, I can't have San Francisco lose. Derek's going to be all over me.
Phone lines open 774-425-2631.
Oh, Charlie.
Phone lines are open 774-425-2631.
Charles.
Any
Charles.
any other games?
Relax, Charles.
Any other games that caught your eye during
I'd
last
have
week
to go back
before we
to the
move on?
schedule.
Definitely were a couple of good games.
That we need to talk about in regards to that obviously made a difference during week 6.
Bengals, Seahawks, that was a good game.
More defense than I thought. I mean, I was really surprised that, like we already talked about the 49ers. The Texans.
Let's talk about
The Texans, yeah.
Yeah, like,
How good of a job is Stroud doing?
honestly, I had no confidence in this team.
And Saints are a good defensive team, and they put up enough to win, but Houston's defense held them in check.
Like, I thought that they were going to be a bottom feeder again. Stroud is just playing out of his ass.
Difference maker. He's a difference maker.
Under
right now.
control. I liked him the best out of the quarterbacks coming out because I thought he had the size. And that game, and what was it? What was it? The Rose Bowl? That game where he lost, but had crazy against the eventual national champ. Was it Georgia? Yeah, they played Georgia and had that shootout. If you can do that to Georgia, that's like playing against a professional team. Right then and there, I ranked him higher. I mean, Young's a little slighter build. Richardson was unproven.
He had a better overall team.
Yeah, but he performed on that team against all future.
Young.
Oh,
Young, I think, had a better.
yeah, he had a pro-ready team, but Stroud just that game showed me everything.
Yeah. So if at this point in the season, you've got the two guys that went ahead of him are hurt. Both hurt.
Well, Young's not hurt now, right?
Yeah, he was.
He was hurt 1 week.
Now.
Oh, he's
He's back.
He didn't play last week.
No, Richardson's gone for the year.
Richardson's gone for the year. Yeah, Young.
He
Young.
played
But
this week.
He played this past week. Oh, he was out the week before.
Yeah.
Okay.
But guys, can we do a tribute to Charles? Let's talk about what did we see in the Patriots game? Come on, Charles, chime in.
He's ready for the Celtics.
So
I know that's why I'm going to force him to talk about the Patriots.
So that was on our agenda as well. The question that I put out on social media on my link was, do we believe Bill Belichick will be fired this year, or will he remain the Patriots head coach?
He'll be asked to step aside, but I don't think they'll fire him.
I think he'll get fired because of his resume and what he's done. But they probably will ask him to step down.
Yeah, he's hurting the team as a GM. He might be able to coach the team, but somebody else got to build his offense. He can't do it.
So
at this point, that little Brian draft.
As I was thinking, about reasons for or reasons against, it's blatantly obvious that if you look on the defensive side of the ball, he produces plenty of great players. Now, when you look on the offensive side of the ball, that's a different story.
Nope, he got lucky with Brady, and there was nobody else he drafted on offense.
I commented on someone else's link today about they had a similar conversation, and it was while I was doing the discoveries for the topics for here. So since Bill Belichick has since he's been with the Patriots, skill positions not counting Tom Brady, skill positions not counting Tom Brady, he has 2 players that have been Pro Bowlers.
Now, wait a minute. Now, is it players that he drafted or players that he brought in?
Drafted.
Oh, he drafted Gronk.
Drafted. There's one other player.
Got to be one of the
And it's-
offensive linemen.
No.
Skill.
Skill players. Skill players.
That's something with
That's
the-
fine. Don't worry about
Oh.
that. That's fine. Skill players.
Was it a running back?
No.
Where did he draft it? No, Edelman came from another team.
Edelman
Was it? Oh, it
Edelman.
was the other
was the one that
small
came
wide
from-
receiver that came
from
from
the
Miami.
Jets.
Wes Welker.
Wes
Welker. Yeah.
Yes.
Edelman was drafted. He was
Two
a quarterback
players.
though.
Two players.
drafted.
Two players. Both at the obviously in the catching, but that is it. That is it.
And where were they drafted? You didn't
That-
target those players.
Gronk should have never fell in the
No,
big draft
injuries.
because he had back injuries, so he slid back. And Edelman was, I want to say, a fifth or sixth rounder.
Yeah,
He was drafted.
And he was a quarterback. Yep.
Yes.
and no, they drafted for punt return.
Yeah.
yeah.
And so, but this is where you look at it and you say, okay, was it Tom Brady or was it Bill Belichick? Now you look at what's going on and you say, it's blatantly obvious that
Tom ran the
because of-
offense
and he ran the
and
defense.
Bill ran it.
It's
Yep.
blatantly obvious that you had a coach in Tom Brady who made average players better. All right. He made the average player better because of his knowledge
Yep.
and his
And he only had average players for most of his career. He
But
didn't have
it
except
was-
for a Randy Moss or a Gronk.
it was the
Okay.
it was
He made Welker.
and
better.
Edelman. Yes. All they did was they insert when one left, they inserted the other one.
Yep. Troy Brown.
You know what I'm
all
saying?
them dudes.
So they all they did was they had a system and they just plugged the guys in and it worked. But guess what? When it started at the end of Brady's career, okay? After they won that last Super Bowl, they went dormant. Literally they went dry on talent, and then 2 years later, Tom was like, I'm not staying here. I'm not continually taking pay cuts and trying to sit here and play with garbage. Case in point, at one point, after Brady, I believe when Cam Newton was played, they had 4 undrafted wide receivers on the field.
And the crazy part about
4.
that is after the year that Brady left, Cam came on, pretty much with the same team, probably a little bit less with the receivers. He had better numbers than Brady.
It's the thing
But
is,
Brady's last year was a rough one.
oh yeah, it was very rough.
Cam's first year was a rough.
Yeah,
Yeah, but they had bad talent when Tom was there. They had bad talent when Cam was there. His
but
first year.
the crazy part about it is they had money in the bank, and Bill never wanted to spend it.
I don't get it.
He would go out and he would always go out and get a great
Bargain defensive player.
a great player defensively
Matthew Judon.
and do whatever he had to do. But when it came to the offensive, he always tried to pick in the bottom of the barrel, and that worked only because Tom Brady was there. But eventually, his luck ran out. So now we're talking. Tom Brady's been gone. What? He played 2 years,
4 years?
3 years for the Bucks. 3 years for the Bucks. 3 years for the Bucks. Because the first year they won, and then the
He
next
played.
two.
He played the first 2, and then he came back for the third,
Um,
and then this year he's gone.
Yeah. So it's been 5 years, okay, since post Tom Brady or whatever the case may be, and as a let's call it for what it is. So as a GM, when you see numbers declining year after year, which they have been, okay. Year after year after year. So let's look at Mac Jones. Rookie year, 10 wins, go to the playoffs. Second year, a significant fall off. Third year, they're at the rate they're scoring right now, they're going to be, offensively, they're going to, for a franchise, they're going to have career lows across the board. So as a GM, if you keep seeing the numbers going backwards, what are you going to do? Someone's getting fired,
Yes.
right? Someone's getting fired. There's no other.
The GM.
the coach.
Yeah, so he ain't firing himself.
But that's where the owner has to step in.
And I think they got too much
This-
respect for Bill.
But listen,
That's why I said they can't fire me. It was
but
the step
so let's talk about this, right? I will give you a similar scenario. Okay, you had the clapper in Dallas for 10 years, and for 10 years you got mediocrity.
Yep.
All right.
They almost on a regularity.
You got mediocrity. All right, for 10 years. He stuck around for 4 years too long. All right. We know that, you should, the first year, you shouldn't really judge a coach because those aren't your players. You're inheriting someone else's players. It should take you 2 years to see, obviously, 2 years to see your picks and your, everything that you've laid the groundwork for. You should see a return. That's typically how it goes. Pretty much in any sport. That's how it works, right? 2 years, and then the third year is, you really should start getting judged, unless you're like getting like mollywopped all over the place.
like Dan Campbell.
but this is the thing. Exactly. This is how it should go. That's the recipe for evaluating a GM. Okay. But if you want to keep that GM around / coach and they continue to lose, you are setting your organization light years back. Because number one, no free agents are going to want to go there. You got to make it, attractive. And it was always attractive when Tom was there.
Yeah, a chance to play with Tom.
Okay. But this is my point. What wide receivers are going to want to come to New England when they say, okay, Mac Jones?
All the Alabama wide receivers. I can't see anybody.
There's
No.
a lot of them.
No.
I don't think they all want to.
And
No.
they don't have the greatest offensive line either.
No.
No skilled wide receivers and
No.
no offensive line.
Let's call it for what it is. Offensively, they are devoid of a lot.
Challenged.
All right. So I told the Patriot fan that I chimed in. I go, you want to call it for what it is? Go on and look on fantasy football, and you'll find all the wide receivers for the Patriots there unpicked. Right? Fantasy football is about
Production.
right? And you want to so I'm looking for a wide receiver, right? And it's all Patriots wide receivers. I'm like, God
I
damn.
don't want not one of them.
Yes. I'm like, you know what? I'd rather go below them and grab somebody else.
The only Patriot receiver like even worthy of even maybe putting him on your bench is Bourne.
Yeah. But I mean, you look after that and it's like, it's all, and I said, that's a true indication right there.
Yeah.
Because there's no productivity. We know fantasy football, that's what it's based on, right? And they're all there for the taking. Ain't nobody taking them. So that's where we're at. So with that being said, if you're going to allow your GM / coach to keep getting the groceries and the food tastes really bad,
He's buying bad groceries.
then you get what you
Outdated.
deserve.
Outdated.
And so I'll use another one. And it's funny because we're at that point where, what you did 5 years ago doesn't do you any good anymore, because you can't keep going on with losing seasons. Post Tom Brady, losing record. All right. Another thing that obviously you can point at. We'll talk about another legend that was in Dallas, that, Tom Landry. He didn't quite have the resume of Belichick, but he had 2 Super Bowls. He was amongst the all-time leaders in wins. But guess what? He went through a rough 5 years.
Was he there 1 in 15? Or was that Jimmy Johnson?
No, that was Jimmy Johnson.
Yeah, Jimmy Johnson inherited that.
Yeah,
That was before he got a chance.
No, I
to
know,
do
but I
it.
didn't know.
No. So what they did, as soon as Jerry came in, he fired him. At some point, you're a legend.
Loyalty to him.
But he could have came in and said, "Oh no, he's a legend.
Yeah,
I can't.
he knew
I
that wasn't
can't."
the right way to go.
Exactly. The
He
Cowboys.
had started to
The,
pass
Cow-
by.
the Cowboys at that point were below mediocrity. They were like Every year was like sitting around. They're like 6 wins, 5 wins, not close to the bottom, but competitive enough, but losing games, and not close enough to get number 1 draft picks, but kind of just not good enough to get good players until Jimmy Johnson came in. They went through the 1-5, 1-15.
Yeah, isn't that when they traded Herschel?
Hey.
But this is my point here is
5 picks.
at some point, okay, because another thing, okay, because of the fact that they've got the 6 Super Bowl rings, they are worth because of the Patriots got the 6 Super Bowl rings. It makes them the second, when it comes to income, the second most desirable team in football behind the Cowboys. Now the Cowboys only have 5, but because of Jerry's World and the overall America's team,
The whole image of Cowboys
is got them, as the number 1 team. But you keep losing, that value is going to go down. Eventually it's going to go down. And at what point does he say, okay, you're in my pockets now? You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of moving parts here. I get that he did what he did for you, but how long are you going to sacrifice losing to somebody who, gave you all those Super Bowl? At some point, you have to cut the cord. 774-425-2631. Patriots Nation. I want to hear from you guys or anyone else. Chime in. Charlie. Chime in and let us know what you feel and how you feel about how things are going in New England. Is it, with Bill Belichick? Because it's, when you're winning, everything is fine and dandy. But when you're losing, and you're losing consistently, and you're losing badly in the manner of how they're losing, it's not a good thing. Now, I'll give you another case in point. Last week, right? You had the teacher, the student. You had Bill Belichick, and you had, Josh Daniels, or whatever his name is. And yes, and it happened. And it happened. I don't know why the phone isn't transferred over. But yes, it happened. I'm going to have to transfer the phone over. Go ahead, you guys. Plan.
Well, as far as the games that surprised me, I would just was it the players or was it the coaching with New England losing to the Raiders?
I think it was the players, my opinion. And if you look at it, the guys that beat New England,
Hoya and Jacoby Myers. But
guys that came from New England.
What hurt New England in that game? They had a long touchdown brought back, and they killed themselves on another big play. To me, that's the coaches didn't have the players prepared. Yeah. So I guess a combination.
But you think about it, these are grown ass men, man. They should that's stuff that.
But that didn't happen.
Do you blame that on coaching?
I blame it because you got to coach those players up. You didn't have them in the right. You know what position you're putting them in. Y'all preparing them for the whole week. And you got guys still not knowing what the hell they're doing, or you resorting to holding. They had that. Did that end up as a touchdown? That big long play, or did they just? But they had like a 70-yard play that got called back. I think it went for a score.
Not positive on that one.
But I felt like the Patriots beat themselves, which to me was a knock on their coaching, a knock on the talent that's on the field. I mean, all of them, the players and the coaching, have to share in that.
So do you think the players just gave up already?
I think the players are losing confidence in their ability to win. They don't see no help on the horizon.
No.
And they're not good enough to step it up.
Charlie, if that was you calling, call back. So that was it was brought up on one of the talk shows. They were saying that a lot of the players that are currently playing weren't there during the championship runs.
Mm-hmm. So they don't know how to be winners.
And they they know nothing now but losing. And the morale isn't what it was before. It just isn't there. So it's one of those things where they're saying that a lot of the players. So now you have a divide between the offense and the defense.
Charlie Perry.
Oh, here we go.
Charles in charge.
All right, Charlie, you're on the air.
What's going on? WMB1 Radio, straight to the point.
What's up,
Listen.
Charles?
So we
I
can
love you guys.
we can hear it
Go ahead, Brian.
straight. We can hear it straight from a true New England fan.
Wait, are you still a New England fan?
Have you taken the bag off yet?
No, I love that bag. It's good. You know,
Did you jump ship yet?
it's good. You know, I'm waiting for Caleb Williams to be in those sweepstakes. Hopefully, we can grab him.
He's not.
Get some. Send some Kachupa his way so he'll stay even longer.
He's
You know,
not
and
coming out if the Patriots get first pick.
Yeah, he only named 5
He's
teams.
being selective in who he wants to play
And he
for.
wants.
He wants ownership.
Yeah, because he's making more in his NIL deals than a rookie deal would
Hey,
pay.
how do you come out demanding ownership?
You know what? I think
He has the foresight. He's doing a LeBron.
No. I think he watched. I think he watched Michael Jordan's special, and
He's watching that show.
Yeah.
Ballers.
Yeah,
I think he.
but Michael Jordan put in some
I think-
time as
I
a
think
pro
he-
before
I
he
think
decided.
he watched Air and was like, "Listen, I want to be innovative."
Yeah.
But go ahead, Charlie. Talk to us. Talk to us.
hey, I don't think the Bill being a GM is just gone. That's history. They need to bring someone else in. Maybe keep Bill as an associate GM or something like that, just to make him a little happy, or keep him on the table. However, I don't really want him to make those decisions anymore, because if you look at the defensive line, they're at a high level. And if the offensive line was at that same level as far as caliber NFL pro players, then we wouldn't be having this conversation, because they could run the ball with the two backs that they have. And maybe, Mac Jones could be that dink and dunk quarterback that Brady was in the beginning, and let him progress a little bit. But at this point, until that offensive line gets fixed, it's not gonna work out for that team. And if Bill stays there as a GM, because his history shows that he hasn't changed for many, many years, actually 2 decades, he doesn't change the way he does things. So he's not going to change now, just like he didn't change in Cleveland. And what Cleveland did is let him go. He didn't want to change in New York, so he just said, hey, I'm going to go elsewhere. He went to New England. The man's not going to change. I like him. I'm glad what he offered us here in New England as fans. But, me, I could see that we need a change. And I'd rather start over where the team is, winning 3 games, 4 games, and then gradually moving up to 8, to 10, to 12, and do it that way, because I'm tired of looking at this. And as bad as I know how they're going to play, I still watch the game. So,
You think he'd be better off with being the team president?
Nope, because then he's higher than the GM.
No,
That's what I mean.
I don't.
He'll
You got to give him his flowers.
No.
he'll demand the picks to go his way if he has that power.
Listen, so you've gotten pretty much a 5-year preview of how things go without Tom Brady. And as I said earlier, things aren't getting better; they're getting worse. So how do you move on from basically, you're caught in kind of no man's land as Bob Kraft is now. You're blinded by the loyalty of 6 Super Bowls. You don't want to do this man wrong, because he's coming close to the all-time wins list. He's brought 6 Super Bowls. He's had 2 decades of nothing but winning. But now he's coming up on a half. He's coming up on a half decade of losing. How do you balance? How do you balance that? Do you do the unthinkable? I think the first step you do is you say, I'm going to remove the GM role from you.
Let them know well in
Yep.
advance. You don't win, that's what's happening.
That's step one. Okay. That's being respectful. Okay. And then you say we need to move in another direction because what you have been doing isn't working. Okay.
Yep.
And then you give him a year, and after that happens, you give him a year, and then you have to evaluate him hard because you're talking 6 years. And if things don't get better, you need change. I likened it to who we had in Dallas, because because Jerry Jones saw the coach as family. He didn't want to let him go, and I believe this is the same situation. He sees him, with Jerry Jones. It was a little different because he was a player. He was from a player. He went to assistant quarterbacks coach, play caller, to eventually being the coach, and he was there for close to within the Dallas organization for 25 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he became part of the family. Not so much in winning, but there was a connection that he had emotionally with him for all those years. At a point, the respect that he gave him was he didn't fire him, but he didn't renew his contract. So that was how he, cut ties. I know we're talking miles apart of coaching, but at some point you have to do something, because happy days are not here again. And they're not. As we look at it, the division has passed them by, although the Jets haven't put that plan in motion because they're the only ones in the division that hasn't really beaten up on the Patriots. And
Yeah.
they've got 20-something games, 20-something straight games against the Jets.
Yeah.
But at some point you have to make a change. When are you going to say enough is enough? That's
so true.
I'm looking. I can say I'm bipartisan because I obviously I don't like the Patriots, but I'm looking on the outside in and looking at it for what it really
Business
is.
part of it.
Yeah.
Something's not working, you got to fix it. What has happened in the past when Bill Belichick felt like a player wasn't playing up to his level no
Got
more?
rid of it.
No problem. Big name dudes. They're not worth the money.
And
He made a
he
business
always
decision.
said it was business.
Yes, it's business for him too. You got to hold that same energy, and you got to understand that was your philosophy dealing with players, and now Kraft is the boss, and Belichick, for all intents and purposes, is in the role of the player. You're not getting it done no more. It's time to let you go. I'm letting you know that's what's going to happen at the end of this year, that you're at least not going to be the GM.
Until his son gets on, until his son supports him, it's not going to happen. So
Is his son even involved like that?
His son is what is his
Yeah.
son? What is his son? A defensive coordinator?
Oh, Belichick's son. I thought you.
No, I'm sorry, Mr. Kraft's son.
What does Kraft's son do?
Kraft's son. He's got to be underneath him.
Yeah, I just didn't know he was involved in the day-to-day business world.
He's got to be the VP. He's got to be, the second in charge, just as Jerry Jones' son is, I'm sure. But
until he comes on and says, "Dad, we got to do something," it's going to be status quo until someone with some kind of credibility, as far as the business, and saying that, hey, business is business, and we're losing fans in the stands. We're losing money in every venue possible that says New England Patriots on it. And guess what, Dad? We're losing money. So let's do this.
Until I just said that. I just said that until it affects his pockets, just as everything says. All right. The NFL doesn't care until it affects their pockets. The NBA doesn't care until it affects their pockets.
What's the rapper's name from Philly?
Meek Mill.
Meek Mill. There you go. You can tell Bill.
Hey.
Nah, because he's a
hey
Philly
guys,
fan.
I'm gonna let you go, man. You're definitely my favorite show as always, and I'll be listening to you.
All right. Thanks
All
for
right,
calling
Mr.
in,
Petty.
Charlie.
I'll get better, brother.
All right, man.
All right.
Take
Thank
care.
you. All right. Yeah. So there you have it from a Patriots fan. There's no other way of looking at it. And for calling it, and I'm sure there's a lot of Patriots fans that feel the same way. It's just
There's no quick fix. You just got to start the process.
yeah, you gotta start anew.
Yeah, it's gonna start somewhere.
You gotta start new.
So
Um,
Chicago has 1 and 2. So you're looking Patriots will probably be 3 to 5. Who are they getting that's an impact player? Who helps them the most? There's a couple of real nice offensive linemen. If you want to wait and see what Jones can do with some protection, there's a real nice. I don't know if Harrison will be out there because he's going to go second.
He's going.
Yeah, so you don't get Harrison and you don't get Caleb. So
the
3 to 5.
The crazy part about it is
The Bears are gonna take Caleb.
No, they might not, but they could trade to somebody to get more picks, or they could take Joe Alt, who I think is the best offensive lineman out of Notre Dame, and they can still take Harrison because Fields needs help on the offensive line. Why? That's the best offensive lineman in college football, and Harrison's the best. You give those 2 weapons to the Bears, and they improve drastically. Then they'll have to fix the defense after that.
And something that I forgot to mention, 2 years ago, all right, Belichick broke the bank. He spent $140 million.
And none of that's paid off. Except
100
Judon.
$140 million on
2
free
tight
agents,
ends.
2 tight ends. Now, for the life of me, why would you go and spend money on 2 tight ends?
Maybe they fit his system.
Wait a hold on. But you didn't have 2 good wide receivers.
Yep. Because he thought Mac Jones would be more of a check down guy and probably needed tight ends more than throwing the ball downfield right away.
But listen, for me, it would have been like, okay, let me get the best available wide receiver and the best available tight end.
That's because you're using common sense.
If
Bill
I'm gonna
Belichick-
if I'm gonna throw my money out there, I'm going to get a receiving tight end, and then I'll offset it by getting a blocking tight end. I'll go get a good wide
that's
receiver,
what Minnesota
and
did.
then but you got to have some type of return.
Yeah.
And neither one of those high price tight ends came remotely close to Panda.
I actually thought Hunter Henry was going to be better than he was. There's
Not
a
even
reason why the
close.
Chargers didn't even try to re-sign him.
Not even close. And it just I didn't even mention that. Okay, as part of his GM blunders, he spent the most in their history, the second most for that year as for overall franchises. And what did you get out of it?
I
A
only
losing
see,
record.
I only see Judon as being somebody because they drafted a nose tackle that I don't think panned out. They brought up in the free agency, they brought in a nose tackle that was kind of high price. I forgot who he was, but then they brought in the 2 tight ends. Did they sign an offensive lineman? That maybe didn't work out. The guy back from the Raiders, right?
No, they lost an offensive line.
Yeah, they lost one, but then they went and who's the guy that went to the Raiders and came back?
I don't know. I can't remember.
No.
That'll be next year.
Yeah, but there was a offensive lineman. I can't remember, but the only name out of all that spending spree you touched upon was Judon.
Yeah,
he's the only one that panned out. He went 1 and 4.
And that,
Which ironically is their record.
And-
Oh no, they're 1 and 5.
and that goes to show you just how bad things are when you have a blank checkbook. Go out and go get what you need. We're giving you the green light to go out and get what you need to fix the team, and you fail and you flunk as badly as you did. For me, there's no other ways of looking at it. I can't see it. Like I said, each year gets progressively worse to the point where you may end up with 3 wins this year.
If they're lucky.
Yeah, you may end up with 3 wins. And as I said, just look at it. Progressively worse. You're going downhill. You're not picking up no steam, nothing at all.
And nobody wants to come.
And that was one of my points too. If you're who do we have coming up for free agency? If you're your guy, and somebody says,
"How dare you?"
If you're your guy who's considered one of the best wide receivers in the
he's
game,
in his prime.
okay, and they said we're going to break the bank for you, and he looks at it, and there's like maybe like a $4 million difference between, you know, hypothetically speaking, between the Vikings and the Patriots. I know where I'm not going.
It's the same scenario we played out with DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah.
He had the chance to go to Kansas City, which we all knew was his best choice, and he went because Tennessee offered more money. You went to go play with Ryan Tannehill instead of Patrick Mahomes, and you could have been a difference maker where outside of Kelsey, you're going to be force-fed the ball, and you got somebody like Kelsey to take the pressure. You went for the money.
Yeah. It is what it is.
He went to play with Derrick Henry, who's going to be out of there by
Before him.
Hopefully he's out of there by week 8.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He's gonna, that's what you got to play the week 8.
No. Hopefully he's out of there by week 8 and he's with us.
Oh.
There's a little buzz there going around. There's a little buzz saying that there's a rift going on between head coach and owner, and he's the head coach is not happy with Pollard's production, but he's not using. For me, he's not using him in the right way. He's trying to run him. He's trying to run dives, you know, and not literally trying to do it like 3 and 4 times. He's better when he hits the edge more. Okay.
Get him off tackle.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, you can do those every once in a while to change it up, but no, he's not utilizing them the right way.
Because Kellen Moore's gone. Who's your OC?
Who's calling the
Coach.
plays?
The coach.
Yeah. So this is the thing, but so you know, some of the articles, and I also talked to Paul Miranda last night too for an extended period of time. He said the big thing down there is, you know, they got rid of Zeke and they didn't get a backup. And they're obviously their
I
woes.
think their backup's
woes.
decent. That they-
Dowdo, he's not big enough though.
Yeah, he's a small guy.
He's not big enough.
He's a young man.
He is. He's one of those guys that'll come out. He runs a lot more physical than Pollard, but he's still small. You need somebody, you know, with the work ethic of. There's a reason why he had 10 touchdowns last year. Not because he broke runs of, you know, he had 10 touchdowns, and I think 8 out of the 10 were 2 yards or less.
That's like Jamal Williams. He had 17. And out of the 17, I would say 12 of them one yard.
But that's a specialty.
Yeah.
It's a specialty. That's what you're there for. And they don't have, just look at the game with the Chargers, 4th and 1, and they tried to do tush push, and they got pushed backwards. But this is what they're lacking. And Paul was stating that there's a big rift going on. You know, he seems to believe that Pollard isn't the featured back that they need, and Jerry Jones is like, this. We paid him for that reason, and so I think their medium is, let's go out and get another back to do the heavy running, and even Emmitt Smith, I read an article today, said that they made a huge mistake by not replacing Zeke. Even to the point where they should have let him go and brought him back at a lower rate, at the same rate that the Patriots got him for. That's the worst you could have done, and they didn't do it, and now they're suffering for it. So come trade deadline, look for them to get a bruiser of a back. That's the word. Fournette.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
He's been out there for a minute.
Yeah. Well, he's
just in Buffalo the other
yeah,
day.
and he didn't, and he left.
Nobody.
He
He's
didn't
been a
sign.
lot of places.
Yes.
Nobody's picked him up.
Yeah, we don't know
He
what
must
kind
not
of
look good.
we
He
don't
must
know
be
what
out
kind
of
of shape
shape.
he's. Yeah, that's the thing. We don't know what kind of shape he's in. He's one of the only backs not to get signed.
Yeah, because it was him and Kareem Hunt. And
Yep.
Kareem Hunt finally got signed.
He's one of the only backs not to get signed. So maybe, who knows? Maybe he's way out of shape. You know, yeah, physical something. We don't know. But in moving forward for them, that's what they're going to be looking forward to. All right, so we kind of probably ran more than what we should have on football, but
the NBA to full of time.
yeah. It's 13 minutes before 8.
We didn't even talk
We didn't even talk about this week's game. So let's jump real quick to this game. So we know the marquee matchup is Philly in Miami.
I thought it was Minnesota San Fran.
In your own mind.
Okay.
How much you think you're gonna lose by?
Depends if McCaffrey don't play.
At any rate, the that's the marquee game of the week. You got 2 5-1 teams, and is it? It's in Philly, right? I believe it's in Philly.
I'm positive on that one, but
I'm pretty sure it's in Philly. I could be wrong too, but let me see. So, as far as that game goes, it's got to be the will.
it's in Philly.
Yeah, it's got to be the will of Philly to possess the ball, physicality, play keep away from the quick strike offense of Miami.
And they still got to shut down the running game, even though
Yeah.
our chain won't be there. But Jeff Wilson will be back. But Mostert has been surprising.
Well, the thing is, the Philly's strength is their
Run stop.
is their run stop. That's it. They've got all that beef up there. They got those Georgia kids, and it's
They need Sada for this one.
yeah, they would need them. But so that is their strength. Their weakness will be to let Tua get back there and sling the ball, because if you watched, they've struggled against just about anybody who's thrown the ball.
And they're gonna need a big play slate. Too.
They're gonna need they're gonna
All
need
hands
all
on
yeah, that's it right
Yeah.
there. All hands on deck. They're gonna need everybody. And it would behoove them to not pull the physicality card out. Hold the ball while beating them up, while putting points on the board. As we know, Miami, they were down 14-0 this past week, and then before you know it was 28-14 in a blink of an eye. But that's what they need to do. They need to go out there and they need to possess the ball and play keep away. And then on the defensive side, they got to stay away from giving up the big plays, which is, you can only hope to keep a team down like that for so long. But sometimes your best defense is your offense. So
Does that carry on with a prediction? Is that 28-24
Yeah, Miami guy.
on the road?
It's a Miami guy.
Him and his other guy, Mr. Morrow, will be battling this week.
Yeah.
Mr. Morrow.
I'm sure they got something on this game.
But so that's the thing right there. Anybody else? You got something to add to it, or
Nothing positive.
nothing positive? Is that your team or the game we're talking
My
about? Oh, okay. Any other games that you see that catch your eye? I know my team's on a
rest of the
bye.
schedule.
My team's on a bye. So
Lions Ravens is gonna be a big game. I don't want to talk about that.
yes, we almost forgot about that. So I think it'll be a good test for you guys. It'll be a good measuring stick
On the road.
on the road, because I think the other games that you went on the road, the teams aren't as good, with the exception of Kansas City. You're talking about going to Chicago and winning, going to Green Bay. Oh no, who did you?
Bay.
Tampa Bay and Green Bay, right?
Green Bay.
Yeah, going into the Bays. Those teams aren't what they once were.
But Tampa Bay's not bad.
Yeah, but they're not Tampa Bay with Tom Brady. No, not even close. But this here will be a good. It'll be similar to, not fully, because Kansas City didn't have a key component, their best offensive weapon and their best defensive weapon. But you still did what you were able to do. But to go into Baltimore, which is a rough place to play, and if you can go in there and win, that'll say a lot about your team. It'll say-
Defense needs to step up like the way they've been. If they come out and play like the way that they played in the last 5 games out of 6, I think we'll be all right.
Offensively, you guys seem to be pretty much doing whatever you want. I think the question is going to be defensively.
And right now, Montgomery slated to miss the game,
Yeah, he's not playing.
so that's huge.
Yeah. So yeah, it's one of those things where okay, well we'll see. We'll wait and see as to what happens. So he's got another prediction, 34-28.
That's the Detroit game.
Yeah. So it's one of those things that it's you're kind of anxious, but you want to see, and like we said, good measuring stick.
Yeah, definitely.
Good measuring stick. So
Both
we'll
those
see.
games will tell a lot because now the cream's got to rise to the top. There's good competition. We're going to see how those 4 teams match up against each other.
Those are the marquee games.
Houston's on bye. I'm kind of curious to see if Houston can keep it going. Cleveland, I'm curious to see if they're going to rebound off, last week's game and play well, or are they going to, they blew everything last week. Does Cleveland play this week?
Yeah.
Who they got?
Colts.
Ooh.
Colts.
Yeah, well, they played with Minshew last week and without Richardson. I was just disappointed that Richardson's gone for the whole year now.
But that Browns defense is
Yeah.
exceptional.
Yeah, it is. So unless Jonathan Taylor steps it up, because that pass rush and that defensive secondary, Denzel Ward's turning into a shutdown corner, and their whole defensive line, especially Mr. Garrett, is really, really doing special things.
Another game I think they'll be interesting is Steelers and Rams.
The Rams have been playing good. I'm not convinced with Pittsburgh yet.
Yeah, offensively, the Rams are coming around. Cooper Cup's back.
Cooper Cup's back.
Yeah.
He's doing his thing.
And he has a number 2 that
Puka
if you double team him, that other dude.
I can't even say his name.
Hocus pocus.
Oh yeah,
They just
I
re-signed
found the
their
rookie.
old running back, Darrell Henderson, who
I
was
just
let
found-
go. He just got called back.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
So can we talk about the injury bug? Injury bug.
Every week.
So we know the big one is Mr. Richardson.
Already out for the season.
So-
Surgery.
So he had the concussion thing, and now he has the shoulder thing. This was one of the key components of running quarterback. Everybody's like, oh, he's physical. This is
big.
the NFL.
Yeah.
This is, and if you don't take care of yourself, it's not for long, right? NFL could stand for not for long.
Guys on defense are a lot physical than you are.
This is, I don't care how big you are. You stay upright long enough, you're gonna get your bell rung. You're gonna get something's gonna hurt. Something's gonna be broken.
But it wasn't a big hit. I mean, he's taking
To
chances.
you.
No.
To you.
His arm got trapped under him and he couldn't break his fall. He broke the fall with his shoulder, which caused the problem. It wasn't like somebody really lit him up.
It was an awkward fall on that. But
Yeah.
it happened.
And the concussion was in the end zone. He fell. But the more chances you take, the more chances for injury.
That's it. People made fun of Tom Brady when he seen people coming. He fell down, but guess what? he
only
lived
had
to
1
play.
year where he didn't-
He lived.
20
He
years.
lived to play another year. And people don't see that as a manly thing. Like, oh, look at that. But you know what? He gets to play another down. People used to get around him, and he just used to go down. No one would even touch him. In order to get a sack, you would have to touch him.
Peyton was the same way.
Yeah, well, these guys, they knew they were fragile. They were up there in age, and they just wanted to play. So also, we have Justin Fields.
Yes.
Not going to play either.
It's been determined he's not playing.
Yep.
Gotta change my lineup again.
Dislocated thumb.
Yeah. I just
As of
thought,
right now, he's out.
yeah.
Yes. And then you have your guy, Montgomery. Rib cage, cartilage in his rib. But as a running back, what are you gonna do?
And then we
You
don't
need-
know what's going to happen with McCaffrey, Debo Samuel.
No, they already said that they're gonna play.
Both?
All of them, all three of them.
sure?
I read it today.
Are you double sure?
It said so when I was reading it prior to the show, it said that they are expected
Monday
to
night
play.
national game I got to watch now.
They are expected to play. The injuries
That's why he's
Yeah. We're gonna get exposed real bad on
I'm
national.
like, yo,
It's not like I could change the channel and watch another game.
like, why do you even care? You don't even have McCaffrey and Fant.
Yeah, I got to watch them against the Vikings.
It's a personal.
But don't be surprised if our defense plays respectable. But our offense won't have enough without Jefferson to be competitive against that defense.
I don't think we had enough for that defense.
No, but they would score. I still think. I just don't think. I just think that our defense is coming around. By the way, do you know who leads the league in sacks?
Yeah, you posted.
Yep. You know who leads the league in tackles for loss? He's back, Mr.
Hey.
Hunter.
Hey.
I didn't know
Hey.
that until I saw that. That's why I was so shocked.
Do you know he's 1-4, 1-5?
For somebody who always gets hurt, and I'm waiting for that to happen. He's increasing his trade value.
Yeah.
Dallas could use a good defensive end, but they're not.
We
They're
don't.
not going to have a high enough number one pick. To trade
We
for.
don't. We don't want them. We
Number
don't
one
need.
pick.
You don't want the number one.
Number one pick.
What?
Yeah, trade your number one pick.
Why would- Why?
They're
Why?
going to
Would,
be in the late
Wait a
20s. We
second.
need somebody
Why-
in the teens.
why would you want him when you have the best rusher?
Because you need somebody on the other side.
No, because
the other guy's not getting it done.
no. DeMarcus Lawrence has got.
Ooh.
He's got pressures. It's not all
Playing
about
under
sacks.
pressure.
It's not all about sacks. He's a good run defender.
How's he doing for tackles?
He's
for
a
loss?
good. Listen. You can say all you want.
Well, when
You can say all you want.
when you're always
Right?
on defense, you get a lot of shots at it.
Yeah, I know, right? You can say that all you want. Who's got the better defense? Okay, all right, thought so. But yeah,
Mike's not working right.
Is this thing on?
yeah. So we'll talk about it then.
Yeah, but that's why I'm saying we're in a national game of the week, and I was thinking, I was hoping to catch a Detroit Lions break. Don't play against the guys with their best players.
No. So the report So you do.
Then
know,
I would have said, but we still beat them. Hey, injuries are part of the game.
do know that on Thursdays the NFL injury, the last injury report comes out on.
But I thought on Mondays they got an extra day if you played Monday night. That's why I thought.
No, Thursday is for Sundays. for
McCaffrey,
Sundays,
I
you
got you
move
in
forward.
fantasy, but you really
All
should
they
sit
do-
out this
all
week.
they
You
do-
really, really should
All
sit
they
out.
do is put him at questionable. That could change. at
Those
any time.
ribs are kind of that could be lingering, man.
That
You
could-
might want to
That could
sit
change
out.
at any time.
He might.
And Debo, I think Debo got hurt in the pre-fight scuffle and tried to play through it so he wouldn't look stupid,
Hey, what
and he was out in the third series.
Oh, so the pregame scuffles were pretty crazy this week. You
Yeah,
see
there
the
was
Dallas
two
one?
different ones.
Yo,
You
Eckler
see-
got whacked.
Whack!
The
His
San
helmet came
Diego-
off,
Hey, he went to go
His
stop.
helmet.
He went to go stop the
Yeah.
dude.
and his helmet went.
What about the fights in the stands?
Oh,
Ooh, that was crazy too.
Yeah. But this is what happens when you get grown ass
I can see that in
40-something-year-old
college. In
men
the pros.
who got jerseys on, who've been drinking.
Yep.
You see half of those guys running and falling.
Yeah,
They're running and falling.
they forgot they're not in their prime no more.
I'm watching these guys. I'm like, this is a crying shame. I
You on a
said,
slippy slide.
I'm like, man, you need to stop it because my back is just hurting watching you all. You know what I'm saying? It's like, come on, man. You're in your mid 40s and you've got a guy's a jersey on with somebody else's name. Stop it. You've lost already. You're making
They
yourself
think
look.
they're
even-
drinking from the fountain of youth.
Yeah. Okay.
I can do it. I'm running in. I'm going to help. Whoa!
Yeah. I'm all set. But yeah, no. So what we're gonna do? We're gonna have to do the NBA next week.
Yeah, it's going to have to be the lead story
It's gonna, yeah,
because
we'll
we'll be 2 games in by then. Season starts Tuesday.
yeah, but nobody's gonna win the championship.
No.
Games in.
Do our predictions.
No one wins the championship.
Hopefully nobody gets hurt by the time
Oof.
Thursday comes along
Ooh,
because that's always a deal breaker.
yeah. Yeah, you said Dame Lillard's out already. So in closing, we like to thank everybody who showed up and showed out last week at the comedy show.
Oh, that was a
It was
beautiful thing.
it was a great thing. We
People wore pink.
pink, yes.
The cancer recipients were very, very, appreciative. I think we heard from each and one of them at some point in time, whether it was our inboxes, text, in person.
Yes,
They really enjoyed themselves. A chance to laugh instead of worrying about the battle they're fighting. That's more serious.
So, in case you didn't know, we did a show last week, our monthly comedy show, and it just so happened that it fell on the day of National Breast Cancer Awareness Day. There is a month, but it was on the day. So
Gotta
what we
take
did
that opportunity.
in lieu of breast cancer, we had an all-female cast.
And they were
And-
hilarious.
Yes, and they were hilarious from the from the host to the features to to the main comedian. Um, they were all great. The people who showed up supported the cause. The families of people who had cancer. Almost everybody. I asked everyone to stand.
And there was a lot of people that stood
I
up
asked
when you
everyone
said,
to stand.
are you fighting or
Have you
with somebody
yes,
who's fighting?
with somebody? Have you lost somebody? And pretty much the whole venue stood up. This is
That made everybody feel like they're all fighting it together. You're not by
Yes.
yourself. Look, a lot of us are in the same fight. Let's stick together. Let's look out for one another.
Yes. So the night it was just a great night. And capped off by the comedians. And it was just good to laugh, because when you're laughing, you're not stressing. And that's what the night was all about, to have a fun night out and kind of forget about your problem, even if it's
For a few
3 to
hours.
4 hours.
'Cause every
That's
day
all we
that's
needed.
a fight. Every day that's mental stress.
Yes, that's all we needed, and it was goal succeeded. And moving forward, we're having another one.
We
and
got
you
the
can explain
we
it.
got the comedy cop Timmy Hall coming from Baltimore, Maryland. I know he's never been to this area. I think he's been to Boston. He's never been to New Bedford. And by the way, we're going to be in New Bedford again.
Yes.
November 17th, New Bedford Whaler Inn, the ballroom. Nice place, local. Timmy Hall, the comedy cop, worth the price of admission by himself. And we're bringing back Stephanie K.H., who opened up for Smokey, and a lot of people loved the hell out of her when she came last time. It's been 2 years since she came. So we basically got 2 headliners. So November 17th, you're going to see the flyer come out shortly. We're shoring up, one last detail. But look out for First Fridays coming back with WMB1 at the New Bedford Whaler in Suites, 500 Hathaway Road.
Yes. So we're in our own backyard. No 15 minutes.
And we're celebrating the veterans this time.
That's right.
Because, November 11th is the Veterans Day. So we're going to do some discounted tickets for our veterans, man. We're going to try to look out for everybody.
Yes. So be on the lookout for that. And tomorrow, if you're not doing anything, join me, Mags, in the morning.
You got a guest?
And I'll have a repeat guest. I will have
did a very good job.
Janine Hunt from the new and upcoming show Luxury Tax. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So stay tuned for that. If you're not doing anything tomorrow morning, 8 to 11 a.m., us two will be on the air. And then again, the replay will happen at 12:30. All right. So be on the lookout for that, as well as how we do.
Are we going to introduce a new revamp show too?
Yes, we're going to. Yes, basically we are. If you don't know, we're going to. There once was the Wind Down, which has now been changed, and we're still going to have Alberto Carter, who's going to be doing it. It's going to be called The Frequency. It should be on the air soon. We don't have a date, but at some point,
couple of weeks.
At some point in this month, it will be premiering. So make sure you stay tuned for that. All right. With that being said, we're going to conclude this episode of Straight to the Point Sports. I'd like to thank everybody for chiming in, everybody for the comments and stuff. And we hope to see you again here next week at Straight to the Point Sports. Until then, we're out. Peace. Have a good night. Enjoy the Thursday night game that's going on right now. All right. We'll see you next week.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your